Hi guys, it may not come as much of a surprise to most people that Brexit killed the so-called special relationship between the US and the UK. Britain was seen as a bridge to Europe. When the UK was a member of the EU, it held its own, but it was seen as America's best friend and most powerful ally in Europe. Now, as US President Joe Biden visits Northern Ireland on the anniversary of the signing of the Good Friday Agreement, that special relationship seems to have shifted across the Irish Sea. This was the thinking of US political expert Professor Scott Lucas when he spoke to Times Radio. Have a listen.
Be blunt with you. The Americans let it be known to the UK government that unless there was support through the Northern Ireland Protocol, a support which finally came through the Windsor Agreement, that Biden would not be coming over here, that it would not make sense to celebrate the Good Friday Agreement, even though Ireland and Northern Ireland really wanted this visit, but that Biden couldn't be seen coming over here if it looked like the Northern Ireland Protocol was in jeopardy. So when the Windsor Agreement was announced, that was the moment at which the Americans said, yes, this visit can go ahead. That was pretty much known, if you want to be honest with you. It was known for weeks and even months in Ireland that was the case. And so it just simply was a question of if the Sunak government would stand up, to be honest with you, to some of the hard Brexiteers in the DUP and not let the Northern Ireland Protocol be thrown under the bus. I think there are 2 points that are important here. I think the specific point is that, it's not for Joe Biden, and he knows this, not for Joe Biden or for anyone in the US government to come in and say to the DUP, this is what you're going to do. It's not for them to say to the UK government or the Irish government, this is what you're going to do. The parties involved have to make this work. But I think the second broader point is this. We are past the moment when UK politicians, if they believe in it, could actually say, well, in the last resort, we have a special relationship here. Or what's been framed in the last few years is this mythical idea of the US-UK trade deal. What the Americans have let it be known is, look, we're in a post-Brexit world where we see Ireland as being important, both in terms of the US-Ireland relationship and in terms of Ireland as a bridge between the US and the EU. And the UK is now outside of that relationship. So I think what the American politicians, and this has been said not just by Joe Biden, but by the former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the powerful Representative Richie Neal, is, if you want to walk away from Ireland and Northern Ireland, if you really want to throw it into disarray, have no doubt, we will side with the Irish, we will side with Northern Ireland, and to be honest with you, we'll side with the EU, because that's where the productive relationship would be for us going forward.
That's really interesting. Now, I think it's very important to remember that what he's talking about here is the political relationship, maybe not so much the economic one, because, of course, the US sees the EU as an opponent on the world stage economically, in the same way it sees China as an opponent on the world stage. So the three main economic powers, those being the US, China, and the EU, are battling it out economically on trade and issues like that. But I think he made a very valid point here about how Brexit, in a sense, has destroyed the special relationship between the US and the UK, because the UK was seen as a bridge between the US and Europe, speaking the same language, similar culture. These are things that were really important to the Americans, and it was important that Britain was a member of the European Union because it served as a type of bridge. It worked. It allowed the US to influence, in a sense, European thinking through Britain. I think that was the belief at the time. But that's gone now, because Britain has no influence in the EU. It's no longer a member. So there's no benefit in this political special relationship. And there's no benefit really in a trade relationship, because as we've just said, the UK is no longer a member, so it has no influence at the table in Europe. So if the US wanted to have a better relationship with the EU, or wanted Europe to be more friendly when it comes to trade with the US, who is it going to speak to? It's going to speak to the Irish. It's going to get the Irish to lobby, in a sense, on behalf of the US in Europe. No point asking the British, they have no influence. So in a sense, Brexit destroyed the special relationship, if there ever was one. And I don't see it ever being repaired. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.